First, have you tried paid search and it wasn't successful? Do you know why? Second, are you considering paid search, or do you have a client that's considering paid search and wondering whether it's right for you or them?
And before we move on, I would love to see in chat, and you can send it privately if you don't want to share it with everyone, how many of you have actually tried paid search? So let us know. I'd love the feedback.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to be talking about three main topics today. One, whether your website is ready for paid search. Two, whether paid search is right for your business at all. And three, what else you can do to be, besides paid search, to be successful online. So I wanted to kick off by sharing an email that I got about a month ago from Google AdWords that talks about destination requirements. Teresa, do you want to walk us through this and what destination requirements are?
I'd love to, Bob, because so often Google sends these messages out and it causes such a stir. And I get a lot of feedback when that happens. In this case, it's to the advertisers, and destination requirements is really your website, your online presence.
Okay, so and they go into, a number of things here. By the way, if anybody wants to see the destination requirements, you can just photograph the QR code that's on your screen. But what are some of the things that you stood out for you, Teresa, in the destination requirements? In other words, what are their expectations for their advertisers' websites?
Well, this is a long document, and Bob was kind enough to put a QR code. You can go there, but I don't expect a lot of you to read the entire thing and digest it. So let me summarize that a little bit, because it's really about requirements like easy to navigate, rich original content, a fast loading page. How often do you go to a website that doesn't load and you're gone? In 2 seconds. And that's an old Google rule that's been around for a long time. So Google's been doing search, let's call it roughly 20 years. And a lot of you probably remember the early days of search, and it was chaotic and you didn't always get to what you wanted. Context is important, and having a site that's crawlable and transparent in the behavior so that Google knows they're sending people to the right link when it comes to AdWords. So you have to actually qualify for AdWords. But all of the things that I'm listing here are SEO fundamentals. So if you're set up for good ranking, good organic search ranking, then you're on the way to AdWords or qualifying for that, if that's the right thing for your business. But it's not always the right thing for your business. And Bob's got some great examples of that in terms of whether or not your business is the right business for AdWords.
That's right, Teresa. And this is a thing that I've been thinking about a lot, because oftentimes we have clients that come to us and they ask, should we be doing AdWords? And it's one of those things where maybe you feel like you should do it because everybody else is doing it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for your business, even if your website is perfectly set up and meets all the Google standards. For example, if say you do a lot of your sales not directly from your website, but you go through distribution. A problem that people run into is that if you sell a lot through a distributor such as DigiKey or Mouser or one of the channels or Amazon or something like that, if you start doing AdWords, they're probably also doing AdWords, and so a lot of time you're going to end up competing with them in the keyword auctions, which is kind of a waste of money. Second, in general, it's probably not a great idea to invest in AdWords if there's no way to go onto your website and actually buy something. This is one of the things that Google looks for in ranking sites. And if they don't see something on there being offered with a price on it, it brings your site down in the search results. And that's a perfectly valid way to have a website. Maybe you don't want to sell things on your website and you can't, but if you can't, then think really hard about whether you want to do AdWords. The other thing about AdWords is that, you know, once you turn it off, it stops working. And so it's something that it's not going to help you build up, for example, any kind of brand recognition over time. And it's unlike organic SEO, which can create a lasting effect. Once you stop spending the money on AdWords, anything that you've gained from it immediately goes away because those search results aren't coming up anymore when people look for them. And the fourth thing to keep in mind is that it's requires a lot of attention and it requires a lot of money. That email that I was just displaying, you've got to really love. If you want to do AdWords, you got to love looking at the emails like that and studying what they have to say, and have somebody who's prepared to look at your account, tweak it a lot because it requires a lot of tweaking. And as for a budget, you are probably looking at a starting, what do you think, Teresa, per month?
It can be a couple $1,000s. And this is why I get all these questions from potential clients about, should I do AdWords, or even clients, should I do AdWords? Do I need AdWords? And quite often their investment is exactly what I'm seeing in the chat. Thank you for sharing that. You can be in a highly competitive market and you're spending more there than it would cost you to go at an advertising campaign in other avenues. So you have to not only be willing to invest in the expensive keywords if you're in a highly competitive market, but also invest in the time it takes to measure and adjust. And that's where content comes in and plays such a major part, because Google checks if what you're asking to buy actually matches the content on your page. And that's part of what that destination document is talking about. So.
Right. And, you know, just because AdWords doesn't, you know, it might not be right for you, there are so many other things that you can do. You can do marketing automation, you can focus on social media, you can reach out to the press, and, you know, do a content marketing campaign. But the way I think about it is that, you know, when it comes to SEO, you shouldn't spend money on paid search until you've done everything you possibly can to grow your organic search traffic, which, you know, one of the comments that just came in says, you know, we've done paid search, but we are up against very competitive terms with companies with deep pockets like Cisco. And, you know, that is absolutely true of paid search. But my experience with organic search is that you really can compete. You don't have to be big to compete with big companies. You can, you know, if you structure a site correctly and put the, you know, the right content on it, it doesn't matter if you're a small company. Do you agree with that, Teresa?
I do agree with that. And when Bob says content, that's an opportunity for me, because what I do is I go in the website and put something called structured data in there. And structured data is what creates the rich snippets when you do a search and you see Google grabbing certain keywords or certain phrases about the description of your company, your service, or your product. And that has to tie directly to the content on the page, but it's code within the site that Google grabs and validates. And that's part of what gives you an edge. So if you are doing AdWords, I would check for your structured data to see if that would help you earn some of the words that you're trying to get.
And even if you're just interested in improving your organic search.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Yes.
And other things, you know, like that we've been talking about that are important for it. Like, you know, you talk often, Teresa, about gaining link authority. Can you explain a little bit what you mean by that?
Right, and that reminds me of another question I was going to ask everybody that's here. If we hit something that you don't quite understand, it's a term that's within context for us, and it might not be for you. So catch us. Link authority is one of my favorite subjects, and it's about, does Google see you as an expert in that field, or the mover and shaker, the one that deserves the top of the page? And you can gain that by the inbound links. All right, so if you're listed in directories, if you're listed on other sites, one good way to get some inbound links to your website is by posting articles or advertorials. They don't go away like ads do. They hang out there for a long time, and people find them, and then it links back to your site. And then when Google recognizes that people are clicking through based on that topic, it gives you credit for the subject matter.
Absolutely. Which is a good reason, even if you're in a competitive space, to think about, doing some media outreach, because the stories that you get that result from reaching out to the press, they last forever, basically.
Right.
The one that I really like to think about and look at when I'm doing an SEO audit is to be sure that the website is being very consistent in how it uses the brand, because it seems to me, that's really key for everything contributing as much as it can to your search position. What I mean by that is, for example, if sometimes people will refer to the same product in many different ways, and I've seen this over and over again, where it's referred to one way on the landing page, it's referred to a different way in a press release, and it's referred to in a white paper in a third way. And you get more traction and better results if all of that looks like one thing instead of like three different things. And so that's one of the, and it's kind of an easy thing to correct. You just need to decide, we're going to call things according to this schedule or this dictionary of things, and we're going to be really consistent about it. And always use consistent branding of your product names, your company name, and how you refer to your company and who your customers are. And
your products. And beware of alphabet soup in that particular case, because Google doesn't necessarily equate the terms. And so if you're using an abbreviation that makes great sense in your market, spell it out as well.
Right. And it's also really important, I think, to be sure that you're not an outlier in how you're referring to your products. Yes. It's good to look at what your competitors are doing, and particularly, just do the mental experiment of, all right, how would I find the kind of product I'm looking for if I did a search on it in Google, and be sure those words are on your site, and then see, what else comes up amongst your competitors when you put in that search term, and see, what words are they using and how are they talking about the same product. Mm-hmm. Because you kind of want to be aligned with that. Right.
And sometimes it's very difficult to get up the search ranking or the results page, what's called SERP. And I want to point out that there is a path to the sidebar, and I've seen this in action and been successful with it. When you put in restaurants are the greatest example, because in local search, because that tends to feed a sidebar that gives you the local information on that restaurant or whatever. But you can earn a sidebar or a knowledge panel, the right side of the search page from Google, if you bring together all of these key points. So one of the things that I want to make sure everybody takes away today is that it's not just one thing. I have a website, I'm ready. Where is everybody? You have to go back in and feed and nurture the page, go out and basically send invitations to people to drive a little bit of traffic to the site, and to get that recognition out there on the web. I came across an interesting statistic that I want to share with you. There's 200 million active websites out there. So yeah, it is a competitive market. When you're putting a marketing plan together, I think it's really important to look at, it is that big, and here is how many websites in your market, or how many other companies, the competitive comparative analysis, how many actual websites are you directly competing with, and how are you going to go about earning that place on the page, what we call above the fold, just on that first page.
Absolutely. So I think that's what we wanted to, we've covered the main points. And so, thank you everybody for having been here. If you've listened to what we had to say and you feel like what your, best next move would be to look at your existing website and maybe work on making its content richer and more effective, please feel free to join me in the room that you see on the webpage you came in that says Bob Decker Redpines. If you are wondering whether your website is structured properly and needs maybe some under the hood work before you want to start spending money on AdWords, then Teresa, join her in the Meet the Speakers area over on the webpage that you use to come in here. And of course, one thing that we didn't say, but it's so much better to do these things before you're paying for AdWords than while the AdWords meter is running. And finally, if you feel like your website is ready and that you have the resources that you need to feed and care for AdWords, our partner agency, Kokoro Marketing, can help you make that even more successful. And Cindy Zulsdorf will be joining us later in the Kokoro Marketing Room under Meet the Speakers. And if you need to just get that contact information, if you have to leave before she can get here, then just please send a text in the chat. And
Bob, we have a couple of questions here, and I would love to go on a bit on structured data. Structured data is a little piece of code. It's JSON data that has the key points from your site. And it's easy to do structured data for the website. That you absolutely have to have. But if you don't have things like pricing for a product, then you're not going to earn the structured data. You're not going to validate structured data and get it on the page. Google won't accept that. So they're forcing you down a path with structured data. Okay. Does that answer your question, Div? And the other thing is that Amy has put in the chat, is that the link, Amy, to the document that started this whole discussion that Bob built? That is the questionnaire with, okay, good.
Yeah.
And that's the key points, because we want you to be able to answer those key points. Are you ready? Are your customers where the right kind of customers for AdWords? And what else can you do? And that document puts that in, concisely in front of you so that you can keep reminding yourself, because this process is not one and done. It's a rinse and repeat. Optimize, optimize, optimize. And that's the whole process. For those of you that have done keywords, you want to, you know that you need to optimize to get what you want out of keywords.
Fantastic. Any other questions from anybody?
Yeah, Bob and Teresa, thank you for that. Just for the benefit of everybody here, the point you made about inbound links I found very interesting. Obviously, we get involved very much in posting articles and advertorials and media outreach on behalf of our clients, of course. But the directories you mentioned, maybe Teresa on this, are you... which ones would you prefer in an industry? Would you go to ones that are directories which are managed by industry publications and those sort of sites. Maybe just a bit more guidance on where people should be looking to get listing.
Yes, there's two answers to that. Whenever I launch a new website, the first thing I do is a bit of a review on what that industry has for directories. In certain industries have listings. The first thing that comes to mind right here is realtors have their qualification
Sure.
sites or membership sites where they can point back to their website. Never put your name out there without a link back to your website. In technology, Thomas's.net comes to mind. Used to be the stack of books, right?
Yeah.
They've evolved with the times, and you want to be listed there. So there's a couple different places out there. In general, you want to have make sure from a launch standpoint that you're registered with Google, you're registered with Bing, you're registered where else. You know, if you're local, there's other registrations. So I basically use a checklist that depends on the industry that the website is in or the client is in.
Right. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I just wanted to welcome Cindy Zulsdorf to the call. Cindy, I already mentioned that Kokoro is offering paid search services. And so anybody who feels like their website is ready and their business is ready for paid search should join you in the Meet the Speakers area after the call. And I also wanted to just say a special shout out to Simon Foley, who is another Vishay alumni like Teresa and I.
Hi, both. How you doing? Nice to be in touch with you. It's good to see you. Yeah, really interesting discussion. Thanks for that.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I think I had a question with, does Redpines help create structured data for our site? And that's something, yes, that we can work together, Teresa and I, for you.
Sure.
So let's meet after the main event. Okay.
Good.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go over to the Meet the Speakers area and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just share my screen in a second so we make sure everyone understands. So if you haven't been in this platform before, I'm sharing the screen. So in your browser window, there's a map of what the different rooms are. So right now we're all in the main stage. You can see that over here where your names are listed. And so Bob and Teresa and Cindy are going to go to the speaker rooms that are here. And if you want to join them for follow-up discussions on what we've been talking about, then you can just click on these rooms here or in the sidebar here, and it will basically pop up a new Zoom meeting. So you'll leave this Zoom meeting and then join those. So that's all. It's really simple. So
Great.
have at it.
Chris.
Good luck.
Great. I'll
Good
see you
luck.
over there.
All righty. Thank you.
Thanks,